Good afternoon, Chair Rogner, Vice Chair Gabarone, Ranking Member Blackshear, and members of the committee. I'm Bill Scott from Dayton, Ohio, and Senator Blackshear's Senate District 6. Hello again, Senator. I'm also a volunteer with Convention of States, and I also serve as the state director in Ohio. Convention of States Resolution SGR 3 is designed to address three topics: fiscal restraints, term limits on Congress and federal officials, and limiting the power, scope, and jurisdiction of the federal government. Some ask, well, why have three areas to debate at this convention? Why not just one? Well, imagine you're a homeowner and you have a massive plumbing leak. You call a plumber and he comes out to look at the issue. Does he arrive just with his trusty old pipe wrench to fix your leak? No. He brings his trusty toolbox with a whole bunch of things that's going to fix the leak. And, similarly, our federal government faces a structural problem in how it conducts its business. The federal patient is in critical condition, so calling an Article 5 convention to focus on just one topic may not save the patient. That's why convention delegates need the flexibility to debate proposals responsive to all three of the previously mentioned limited topic areas in one whole of government approach to fixing problems. The fiscal restraints topic is what I'll talk about a little bit more today, because most people understand the issue and also suffer the effects of excessive government spending of theirs and their future generations, taxpayer dollars being spent without regard to the dire consequences of the deficits and the crushing national debt. Consider the trend of the federal spending over the last 5 fiscal years, 2019 through 2024. 2019, federal revenues were $3.5 trillion, that's T with a trillion, and expenditures were greater than that at $4.4 trillion, leaving a deficit of about 0.9 or $1 trillion back in 2019. Then, what happened? COVID hit. And over the next 2 fiscal years, annual spending increased by over $2.5 trillion, leading to ballooning deficits of around $3 trillion in those years. In the fiscal year that just ended, September 30th, 2024, increased spending still approached nearly $7 trillion, and the deficit was still twice the level of 2019 at $1.8 trillion. Why is that level of deficit spending still happening years after COVID is over? That's a pretty logical question, and people ask it all the time. Well, I think it's because Congress is not doing their job and doing the required separate appropriation budgets to justify program spending, and rather just let the past spending be the starting point for new appropriations. Instead, we get CRs or continuing resolutions that are adopted to keep spending without accountability. And that's just unacceptable and totally unsustainable. They just keep kicking the can down the road to our kids and our grandkids. And that's just not right. I think you'll agree with me, or many will agree, Washington is addicted to spending, and they're spending other people's money. That's why in Article 5, intervention is needed by the states. Congress can't and won't do it themselves. But you, as state legislators with the powers granted in Article 5, can put some guardrails on Washington spending by calling for a convention to propose a common sense balanced budget amendment that would control spending along with some other topics available in the COS toolbox. Consider what your fellow state legislators from all over the country proposed at a fiscal restraint amendment in 2023 at a simulated convention in Williamsburg, Virginia. In summary, they propose that federal expenditures for each fiscal year shall not exceed the average annual revenue collected in the prior 3 fiscal years. And total expenditures, by the way, include interest on the debt, which is ballooning like crazy, is approaching $1 trillion like overnight, it seems, but it's much faster than anybody anticipated. The full fiscal restraints proposal for that simulation you can read in my footnotes to my testimony. Before I conclude, I just want to say a few words about what you might like to hear the opposition will say about COS when you hear opposition testimony. You're likely to hear a word salad of historical dates, quotes from founding fathers, the Federalist Papers, and even a truncated quote that is shamelessly taken out of context from the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. There's nothing in the opponent's arguments that hasn't already been debunked over the years by recognized constitutional scholars who have research that's well documented and peer reviewed. Yet they keep repeating these debunked arguments, hoping that repetition will sway some of you state legislators. I urge you to have a healthy level of skepticism when you hear the opponent's arguments and you hear arguments based on fear. We American citizens are not descended from fearful people. Thank you very much. Please support SJR 3.